When we try to study language from a scientific perspective, one is engaging in linguistics. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to study about some important concepts of linguistics, that is morph and morphemes. So, what is linguistics? In linguistics, when we study about language, we examine how language is acquired, how it is processed, and how it is used in communication, both in everyday interaction and in more formal contexts like writing and public speaking. It explores the ways in which language varies across different cultures and regions and how it changes over time. So, in today's video, we are going to learn about these concepts. We are going to learn about morph and morpheme and how these makes up the linguistic study, or what we say, the language. So we know that morph as well as morphemes, these are both the part of linguistics, correct? And how they are different from each other. So basically, when we study about morpheme first, in linguistic, a morpheme is the smallest meaningful unit, which cannot be further subdivided or analyzed. It means it conveys a simple, a smallest meaning, or a smallest unit which has meaning. Whereas when we talk about morph, it is a more of a sequential thing. It means it talks about it's a sequence of phonemes that has a grammatical function as well. Morphemes can be used as a word or a part of a word that carries a meaning on its own. For example, in a word like unthinkable, it has unthink and able. When we write unhappy, in previous video also we discussed about this word unhappy. Here happy is the root word and un is added as a prefix here. When un is a morpheme, when it is added, that means not, it means not happy, correct? And happy is a morpheme that means joyful. Here are some more examples of morpheme. Let us see that. When we write cat, cat is a morpheme that means a small carnivorous mammal. And when we add s, it is also a morpheme that makes it plural, that make cat a plural, correct? When we write s basically here. Then we have when we write pre, it is a morpheme that means before, as in preview. When we add a suffix like ed, it is a morpheme that means past tense, as in walked, correct? Whereas when we talk about the morph on the other hand is a combination of sounds that has a grammatical function. For example, in the word cat, dogs, houses, where we see that like cat, it is a morpheme and s is a morph that makes the word plural. For an example, sometimes when we add s, it is pronounced differently. For example, in dogs, s is pronounced as dogs, correct? Cat, s. So this sound is used as s. In houses, when we say houses, it's used as is. So these morphs are added at the end with the same morpheme but different phonics, like different phoneme. So this is how morph and morphemes are different. We can add on more examples in it, like adding ing at the end of the word. Ing is a morph that indicates continuous action, like for an example in a word running, correct? Then we can add a suffix that is er. Er is a morph that indicates a person who does something, as in teacher. Like for example, one more example, ly is a morph that indicates manner, as in quickly. Adding on, we have ed. Ed is a morph that indicates past tense, as in walked. So in a summary, we can say that a morpheme is the smallest unit of meaning in a language, while a morph is a sequence of sounds that has a grammatical function. Moreover, if we want to study about morph, basically morph is a meaningful group of phones which cannot be subdivided into smaller meaningful units. For an example, in a word weakness, here weakness, and when we add es, each of these parts is a morph, correct? weak, and then ness. All of these are the part of a morph. For an example, in the word books, here book and s, the sounds, each of these parts is a morph. Correct? For an example, in a word holiday, here holly and day, each of these part is a morph. Basically, we can say the segmented words are referred to as morph. The word bigger is segmented into two morph, which can be written orthographically as big and in a phonological transcription as big and for an example like bigger. Correct? So how can we write it? We can write basically the big one and the sound r. Each morph represents a particular morpheme when they say give the sounds of these two words, and these are basically the segmented words. Moreover, if we talk about the types of morphemes after we have discussed the morpheme, so we can say like they are two types. One is free morpheme and the second one is bound morpheme. In the previous video also we have discussed about it. Free and bound morpheme. A free morpheme is one that can stand alone with a specific meaning. For an example, book. Correct? Think. These are the free morpheme. A bound morpheme is one that cannot be stand alone with the meaning. It always added to one and more morphemes to form a meaningful word. For an example, like re, like ly, en, un, right? So these are the words, like we can add replay, cheaply, short right? Unable. So these are the words which cannot stand alone with the meaning. Correct? Moreover, in the free morphemes, these are further subdivided. For an example, like what we say as lexical morpheme. Lexical morpheme. Lexical morphemes are the morphemes that carries the main message we convey. These can be ordinary noun, verbs, and adjectives. For example, like girl, tiger, long, black, look, kill, etc. The lexical morphemes are of open class, whereas the second type of free morpheme is the functional morpheme. Functional morpheme. Here, it acts as a functional word in a language, mostly conjunctions, prepositions, articles, and pronouns. For an example, like words and, when, but, near, in, the, that, it, and so many more. It is of a closed class word. Next, we have the bound morphemes. As we have seen that bound morphemes cannot stand alone with a meaning. Bound morphemes are also of two types. One is derivational morphemes, and the second one is inflectional morphemes. Correct? The main difference between these two morphemes is that derivational morphemes creates a new words and mostly changes the word, classes, identity, and category, whereas inflectional morphemes merely changes word form. Bound morphemes mostly refers to morphemes that can occur as affixes. Two type of affixes like prefixes and suffixes, what we have discussed earlier. For example, prefixes can be like dis, un, pre, and many more, whereas suffixes can be like ly, nes, ish, and many more. So these are different types of morphemes. When we talk about derivational morphemes, it is used to create new word with a new meaning. For an example, like if we say boy and when we add ish, it says boyish, right? And when we say clear and we add ans, it becomes clearance. Exactly is the word which is derivational morpheme. Here you can say like boy and ish. Here noun plus derivational morpheme, that is adjective, is added. In the word clearance, when we say it is a verb and derivational morpheme is added, it is like made a derivational morpheme and it becomes a noun. When we say exactly, adjective is added plus derivational morpheme, it becomes adverb. So this is how a new word is created with a new meaning. When we talk about inflectional morpheme changes the form but not the word class or the central meaning of the word. For an example, like we say cat versus cats. Here it changes the singular versus plural thing, like marking grammatical distinction. The main function is marking grammatical distinction. For an example, like collects versus collected. Correct? Here it shows the present versus the past. One more example of this, loud versus louder. Here it shows the grammatical distinction of positive versus comparative degree. Correct. So these are the two words, and I really hope that you learned something from it, and it is equally helpful as the previous video of morphology and morpheme and phonemes. So thank you so much, and I am really happy to make this video on demand. And thank you for always supporting. Thank you for giving so lovely and kind messages of yours. And I hope to see you in other videos. Keep putting your suggestions in the comment box. Thank you so much.